Hey everybody, welcome back to Reach and Reverie. Today I am so excited to show you guys our new chicken coop and chicken run. Now I have a lot of exciting plans in store for this new space. One, right now I'm using it as a grow out pen for my new laying hens. They are pullets right now, which means they're not quite old enough to lay eggs. At this point they're about 8 weeks old, and I've just started integrating them into my flock of adult chickens. In the future, and it's actually a pretty near future, I'm going to be ordering those chicks pretty soon. We are going to be using this space to brood and grow out a round of meat chickens so that I can be more self-sufficient and grow my own food to a whole nother level, in that we will be growing our own meat. In a lot of parts of the country, growing your own meat is quite the controversial subject. But I like to think of raising our own chickens as meat and raising our own chickens for eggs as a way to ethically source our own food. I know where the food's going to be coming from. I know what the food has eaten its whole life. I know that it's lived a comfortable life. And my hope is that everything that I personally raise is only going to have one bad day. Now we could go on and on and on about the ethics of raising your own meat chickens, but let's get into this coop tour. So this space is approximately 6 feet wide by 16 feet long. It's almost 6 feet high at the highest point and about 4 feet high at the other end. I do have a carabiner holding this latch closed as a layer of predator protection. When we get our meat chicks, we may even do a combination lock just to help protect our chickens even further. Let's go inside. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this door behind me, but there's no worries about me getting locked in because there's this little pull system that opens that door back up for me. Around one side of the run, we have a skirting buried under the dirt so that predators will have a hard time digging in, and we also have bricks and rocks lined along the perimeter. On the other side, this railroad tie the whole length of this enclosure to help add a little bit more protection from predators for our girls and meat chickens. I'll show you our newest generation of egg laying chickens here in a few minutes. Right now they're actually not in this chicken run. I have them integrating into the flock with the adults. This entire chicken run is fully covered in hardware cloth from head to toe. That way there are no predators that are going to get into this space. We also have a little porch that is covered in corrugated tin to keep rain and sun off of the birds, where they have the option to get, fresh air and sunshine throughout the length of this, but they can get out of the rain and get into the shade while still having fresh air and access to the outdoors while being protected from the elements. So their little porch area is 6 feet long, and then they also have their coop over here. You got to start somewhere, guys. At the moment, this is the feed dish that I have for the chicks, where their chick starter feed is in this baking dish. And I have a tray under it to kind of help reduce the mess. My boyfriend Josh, he's actually building a really cool automatic feeder system, which we will probably incorporate into this run after we move the laying pellets out and we move the meat chickens in. So for now, they have been doing absolutely fine using this feeder method. And here they have 2 water sources. We have this 1 gallon water source, and we also have an automatic water that holds 5 gallons. I am really proud of this chicken coop, which Josh basically completely designed all in his head, and it just came together really beautifully with all of the materials we were able to salvage. This chicken coop is 4 feet by 4 feet, and it has this drop down window which can close for weather protection and to hold in the heat, and it can be clipped open to add ventilation for the chicken coop. on the bottom. It allows that heat to escape and airflow to go in there, but there's also plenty of ventilation in the top because this top foot is all chicken wired over, and then they have chicken wire as a ceiling inside the coop so that all of the hot air can escape, but they still have weather protection with this corrugated tin roofing over top. Now you guys know it. How many times have I said it? I live in the Chihuahuan Desert of far western Texas, and cold is not something that we typically have to worry about out here. Like today, it was like 100 and something, and heat is kind of what we have to build our things around for. We're gonna do a round of fall chicks, and then this run is probably gonna be dormant over the winter, and then we'll start back up in the spring with more chicks. Now I'm super excited about this door, which Josh designed and built, and I'll show you the pulley system mechanism and how that works when I go back outside, but I'll also show you how I would clean this out. I unhook the door, and then I'll just clip this pulley string to itself, unwrap this latch, and I can open up the door to clean out the coop. This is the coop that my pullets are growing out in. And they have a roost so they can roost at night. Nice, soft, clean bedding. And then when I bring the meat chicks in, we'll probably remove the roost. We'll add a heat source by using a heating plate. And then we'll have their food and water in here. And I'll probably raise the meat chicks for the first week or so in this coop, and then after that we'll open up the door and they'll be able to come in and out as they please in the chicken run. I mean, once they are sufficiently feathered and as hot as we get, I'm not too worried about them being super reliant on heat out here because we do have some pretty warm temperatures in western Texas. But we are gonna start raising this new round of meat chicks in the fall. It's actually gonna start cooling down here in the next couple weeks, which is gonna be the perfect timing to raise a batch of meat chickens before the winter. So let me go ahead and clip this door back on. Door is locked shut, and the vent is open. Now, I'm a huge advocate for doing what you can and using what you got. So as far as this project went, it was totally affordable. And I believe that if you have the space to try to grow your own food, and you have the passion and the motivation and do a little bit of research, pretty much anything's achievable. Obviously, you have to follow your city regulations. I have permits for raising chicken. I have permissions from property owners to raise these chickens. So as far as that goes, obviously follow your local ordinances and everything. But if you get those permissions and if you have the space just about anywhere, like I'm in a little backyard. Now, if I were to use this space at the maximum efficiency for the growing period that's suitable for where I live, I could probably raise up to around 32 chickens every year. That's 32 chickens that I can put in my freezer, and 32 chickens that I'm not buying at the store. 32 chickens that I know are raised ethically, and 32 chickens that I was personally able to be responsible for. So how much does a project like this cost? The most expensive part of this project was the hardware cloth that wraps the whole thing. And to me, this was an expense that was totally worth it. This hardware cloth, I bought a 4-foot tall roll by about 100 feet, and it was $200. Most of the lumber was coal lumber from hardware stores. You can see these are spray painted with reduced prices, where basically you have boards that are defective, cracked, bent, for whatever reason they are marked down in value, and they'll be bundled together in large groups of pieces of wood, and you can buy in bulk at a much lower rate. So our wood was super inexpensive, super affordable. And we were able to salvage almost, I would say, almost 95% of the lumber that went into this project was cold or marked down clearance wood and lumber from our local hardware store. The hardware we did buy new, things like the hinges, the gate latch. For this project, we used two 16-foot by 4-foot tall utility panels to help add support and structure for this hardware cloth to be mounted on. All of the tin that we used on this project that you can see on the roof of this chicken coop and as their little covered porch is all material that we got for free. Josh and I were actually able to salvage all of this tin for free by visiting a local estate sale. And it's perfectly good condition for corrugated metal and will serve its purpose well for our little chicks. The main structure of this chicken coop was completely free. It's a repurposed dog kennel that Josh was able to find that someone was giving away for free. So we basically used the frame of this dog kennel and we wrapped it in hardware cloth and chicken wire for predator protection, and to add the ventilation we topped it with that corrugated tin. And then the outside, this siding, we were able to get marked down because it had a few imperfections and defects in it. So this siding is the same kind of siding that you would use for the exterior siding of a house. Really great quality materials, and we were able to get this extremely affordably so that we could build the siding for the chicken coop. And I mean, it's aesthetically has a couple blips here and there, but it's going to do perfectly well and fine for raising chickens and as the siding on a coop. And this is from the outside, the pulley system door. So right now it's locked in that open position. So what I will do is I will unhook this loop from the screw down here that holds it in the open position. And as I close the door, I will loop the screw up here just so that I don't lose my string. I don't want it to fall through the other side. And now it is closed, and that's how we keep it at night, just to protect the girls a little bit further. Now I really don't think anything is gonna get into this chicken run. I mean, it is fortified, maybe a little bit overbuilt for what we're using it for, but we wanted to give these chickens a peaceful, safe environment to grow out in. So I'm gonna go ahead and open that back up because we still gotta put the chicks to bed here in a little bit. And there we go. Now I am so thankful for this new area that we have for growing our own food. This space is going to provide so many resources in the form of eggs and meat. This is such a cool adventure to take that little bit of responsibility into your hands to grow your own food where you can, how you can. Start with where you're at, use what you got, and you can always grow your knowledge and experience as you grow. You know, I've actually posted photos of this project on my social media, and a friend of mine actually commented in a kind of discouraging way where they were basically questioning, why would you even try to grow your own chicken? Like, is it economically even worth it? And basically implying that the only time for you to grow your own food is if you have such a large space where you can do it, or if you're in a situation, you know, the way the world's going, where you feel like you have to grow your own food as a way to survive a scary situation. And my response is, I'm not growing chickens for meat out of fear. I'm not growing chickens for meat out of trying to save money. I am growing chickens for meat in one way, to turn my waiting room into a classroom. I have a dream to have a homestead and to try to be as self-sufficient as I possibly can be. And you don't start as a full-blown homesteader. Like, you start where you can, and you learn those skills, and you gain experience, and you grow. And as you grow, maybe your space and your situation expands and grows with it. But if I waited until I was in the perfect situation to be a homesteader, then by the time I got there, I wouldn't have any skills and I wouldn't know what I'm doing. So to me, you got to start out somewhere. And if that's somewhere small and I'm only able to raise 32 chickens in a year, you know, that's 32 chickens that I wouldn't have raised if I was too afraid to even start, or didn't take that leap and just do it and just jump in and get started somewhere. So as Jessica Sowards has put it, I'm turning my waiting room into a classroom. Where I'm at now is not where I see myself in the future. It's not where I want to be long term, but you know, I'm living in a city lot in the middle of town, and what am I doing? I'm growing plenty of garden vegetables that week to week is providing almost all of the vegetable portion of my meals throughout the entire spring and summer. And I'm also going to be growing meat too. It's a great place to start. So another affordable salvaged resource that we have is we are using this recycled toolbox that goes on the back of a truck, and it locks and closes. We're using this as feed storage. So look at that. Right now we have a whole bale of alfalfa in here, and then under this alfalfa we also have a bag of feed for the meat chickens that were already ready to go. So by the time the meat chickens get here, we'll probably clear out some of this alfalfa and we'll have more bags. And I'm hoping this whole little section right here can just be the meat chicken feed, and then we'll have the alfalfa over here as well. Now this toolbox is completely waterproof, and it keeps the food dry and fresh, and it didn't cost a lot of money. I mean, you'd be surprised if you keep your eyes open what you can find and what you can use. And I feel like one thing that has held me back for a long time at getting started at gardening, getting started with chickens, getting started with trying to be a homesteader, even, you know, starting as small as you can, is finances and money. And to me, if there's a will, there's a way. If you want to make it happen, you're gonna make it happen. So if that means salvaging a kennel to make a chicken coop, salvaging some free metal, you know, trying to buy marked down lumber, we're gonna do it. Be resourceful. That's part of being a homesteader. Lastly, I wanted to give you guys a little update. These are my chicks. They're probably 7.5, 8 weeks old now. And I have 5 little laying hens. They're pullets, so they're not quite laying age yet. They probably have another couple months to go before they can start laying eggs. But we have Miss Gordita, we have Flauta, Churro, Margarita, and Guacamole back there. And they're doing so well. Today they've spent a couple hours out here in the pen with the big girls, and they kind of keep to themselves, and you know, they scratch around. I've seen them dust bathing, they're foraging, they're just adapting really well and integrating into this flock really well. The adult chickens have been kind of keeping to themselves over there, and I mean, when they do interact, they are all quite respectful of their space. At this point, I'm only integrating them for short periods of time throughout the day. Today was the longest, where we probably, you know, they've been out here for a couple hours, but before today, we've only really let them in here for about 30 minutes a day, and it's always been supervised. Today as well, we're supervising these girls as they're integrating, because I want them to be safe, and they are still quite small, but this is super encouraging. They're not fighting with the big girls. The big girls aren't bullying them. So overall, I'm really happy with how this is going. Now here in the next couple weeks, we are probably going to integrate them full-time into the flock with the older ladies, and then we'll start our round of meat chicks for the fall. These girls right here are not meat chickens. They are going to be providing eggs for us. Now Miss Churro, who decided to hop onto my back, she is actually a little rescue chicken that I rescued from next door, And I brought her in because she was kind of the runt of that flock and a little stunted. And at first I thought she was a bantam. I'm starting to think she is a full-size chicken because she is caught up with the rest of the girls in size, and she's actually either the alpha or the beta in this little flock. She is high up on the pecking order. She's a spunky little girl, and I just love her. And I've talked to my neighbor, and she is going to actually stay in this flock forever. She's integrated really well and just has her little family with these girls over here. Hey, hi Miss Flauta. Hi. One final really cool thing about this chicken run is that it is completely movable. There is not one piece of this structure that is permanently set into this spot. We have purposefully designed it so that we can take it apart and I can bring it with me to the next place that I live, and I will have a chicken run ready to go wherever I go. So one thing that Josh did that was really neat was, instead of like screwing anything to structures, we just used a baling wire essentially to, you know, tie the framing to the cattle panels, to tie the cattle panels to the carport. And then we have this other support beam right here, which is a 4x4, and it is drilled into a concrete pad essentially. And this is completely movable, but when everything is all tied together, it's a really, really solid structure that's not gonna go anywhere. So it's super solid. It's gonna be a great structure to have while I'm at this property. But building a structure like this that is removable when you move out of the place that you live just makes it that much easier for people who live in rental properties, or people who, you know, want a structure that they can move to different parts of the property, you know, rotate, whatever you want to do. Having something that you can easily take apart, disassemble, and reassemble, that way it just makes growing your own chickens that much more achievable. Check this out, guys. I have moved the girls back into their chicken run because it's getting a little closer to the evening, and that way they can get settled in their run before nightfall, and they are worn out. Today they spent a few hours with the larger girls in their chicken run, and it's really neat to see that, you know, they had such a good time running around, digging in the dirt, dust bathing. They climbed up on the chicken coop today. You know, just being kids, exploring their new space over there. And now that they're back into this familiar space, they are all tuckered out, kind of winding down for the evening. It's really nice to see how relaxed they are in this space. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. That way you can stay up to date with the greatest and latest everything going on here at Reach and Reverie.